Ethan had never imagined he would be standing on the surface of another world, staring at a palace that gleamed under the twin suns of Zithra. The planet was unlike anything he had ever seen. Its skies shimmered with colors that no human eyes were meant to perceive, and its cities rose like crystal spires from the landscape. He adjusted his medical pack, checking the small supplies he had brought with him. On Earth, his skills had been enough to save lives in war zones and disaster areas, but here, among the alien royalty, the stakes were higher than he had ever faced. He had been summoned under unusual circumstances. The royal family of Zithra rarely requested human assistance. They were proud and self-sufficient. Their technology advanced beyond anything humanity had achieved. Yet here he was, escorted into the grand palace halls by silent, gliding attendants, their bodies tall and elegant, their faces serene and unreadable. He could feel their gazes measuring him, as if weighing his worth in some secret scale. The palace itself was a marvel. Walls shimmered with a liquid-like material that seemed to capture light and bend it in impossible ways. Gardens floated in midair, their vibrant flora defying gravity, and the air was filled with a delicate hum that Ethan could feel in his chest more than hear. Everything was designed to impress, to remind visitors of the power and sophistication of the Zithurian monarchy. Ethan's escort led him to the Queen's observation chamber. From there, he could see the royal courtyard below. Children ran through the gardens, their laughter like music, while attendants hovered silently behind their parents, ready to respond to the slightest gesture. But something in the air made Ethan tense, an undercurrent of alarm, subtle but unmistakable. Then it happened. A loud explosion shook the palace, sending shards of the floating gardens tumbling toward the ground. Screams erupted as the raiders, heavily armored and swift, unlike anything Ethan had seen in human warfare, stormed the courtyard. The royal guards responded immediately, their weapons glowing with energy that could pierce steel like paper. Ethan froze for a moment, unsure what he could do, but instinct took over. The Princess Lyra had been struck by shrapnel. Her delicate frame fell to the ground, and a crimson glow bloomed across her chest, where the alien wounds burned through her skin. Her attendants screamed and rushed forward, but the weapons of the palace proved useless against the raiders' shields. Chaos erupted around him, but Ethan's mind focused on one thing: saving her life. He ran toward her, ignoring the alarms and the confusion. His medical training kicked in. Dropping to his knees, he assessed the wound, feeling the alien tissue pulse beneath his fingers. He had no idea how Zithurian biology worked in detail, but he knew the principles of healing: stop the bleeding, stabilize, prevent shock. Improvising, he used a combination of human antiseptics and a flexible bandage he had carried, wrapping the wound with precision. The princess gasped, her breath ragged, and Ethan spoke to her calmly, using soothing tones he had practiced countless times on human patients. "Stay with me," he murmured. "You're going to be fine." The raiders advanced again, and Ethan realized the situation was hopeless if he stayed exposed. Thinking quickly, he used a reflective panel from his medical kit as a small shield, deflecting some of the incoming energy blasts. He felt heat singe his arm, but he refused to move from the princess. Around them, the palace guards fought valiantly, but the raiders were relentless, their strategy precise and ruthless. Suddenly, a barrier of shimmering light enveloped them. The queen herself had arrived, her presence radiating authority and power. The raiders hesitated, as if aware that they had crossed an invisible line. Ethan glanced up at her, surprised. She watched silently, her eyes cold but not unkind, observing every move he made. With the immediate danger held at bay, Ethan returned his attention to Lyra. He whispered instructions, guiding her to breathe slowly, stabilizing her pulse. The bandage he applied began to react to her biology in ways he could not fully understand. The Zithurian healing protocols seemed to interact with human techniques. Slowly, the princess' breaths became steadier, and the crimson glow of her wound began to fade. The queen continued to observe. Ethan could feel her scrutiny, but instead of fear, he felt a strange sense of clarity. Every decision, every action had weight here, and he rose to meet it. Using a small injector from his kit, he administered a dose of synthetic plasma designed for shock, and the princess' body responded almost immediately. She looked up at him, her alien eyes wide, and for the first time, Ethan saw something that resembled trust. As the raiders retreated under the queen's command, the palace began to calm. Attendants rushed in to tend to the chaos, and the princess was carefully lifted into a hovering stretcher. Ethan followed, making sure she was stable. The queen approached him then, her expression unreadable but intense. "You have saved my daughter's life," she said, her voice carrying authority and a hint of curiosity. "Not many could do what you have done. Not many would dare." Ethan bowed, still processing the events. "I did what anyone would do," he said, though he knew the truth was different. Humans, especially him, often acted in ways others did not, combining courage, improvisation, and empathy. The queen studied him for a long moment, then turned and motioned for him to follow. He was led to a private chamber where Lyra rested. She opened her eyes briefly, offering a small smile, and Ethan felt a warmth spread through him. It was a simple human emotion, yet it seemed to matter in this alien palace more than anything else. As he prepared a new set of treatments, the queen spoke again, her words measured. "You have done more than save her life. You have shown qualities that we value, qualities not common in this galaxy. I will watch you closely, human." Ethan nodded, unsure what she meant, but sensing that his actions had already set him apart. Humans were often underestimated by other species, considered weak or reckless. Yet here, his instincts, training, and humanity had proven to be strengths beyond technology or strategy. For hours, he tended to Lyra, monitoring her vitals and ensuring that her alien physiology remained stable. The palace buzzed around them, but in that room, time seemed to slow. The princess began to speak softly, asking questions about Earth, about humans, about his life before Zithra. Ethan answered carefully, aware that every word could be weighed and remembered by the queen's unseen gaze. Finally, as the twin suns began to set, casting long shadows across the palace walls, the queen returned. She stood in the doorway, observing Ethan with a thoughtful expression. "You have earned more than gratitude," she said quietly, almost to herself. "You have earned my attention." Ethan felt a mixture of pride and apprehension. He had not come here seeking recognition, only to save a life. Yet the weight of the queen's gaze suggested that his journey on Zithra had only just begun. As he left the chamber for the night, he could not shake the feeling that the events of today had shifted something fundamental. Humans were rare on this planet, often regarded with suspicion or curiosity. But now Ethan realized they could be seen as heroes, as equals, as beings capable of shaping destiny itself. And somewhere in the palace, the queen watched, her mind already considering the implications of what had just occurred. A human had entered her domain, healed her daughter, and proven something extraordinary. The thought lingered in the quiet of her chamber. Perhaps this human could be more than a visitor. Perhaps he could become something greater. Ethan awoke to the soft hum of the palace. The twin suns of Zithra were high in the sky, painting the gardens in shades of gold and green that no human sunlight had ever created. He stretched and adjusted his medical pack, already preparing for another day with Lyra. She had survived the previous attack, but her recovery required constant monitoring. He had never thought of a princess as just another patient, yet every gesture, every heartbeat, mattered more than any human life he had saved before. Lyra's room was calm now, a serene space that hovered slightly above the palace floor. Her injuries were healing, but Ethan knew that alien biology was delicate. Too fast and she could experience organ stress, too slow and infections could set in. He checked her vitals carefully, applying gentle pressure where needed, speaking softly to reassure her. "You slept well?" he asked, keeping his tone light. Lyra's large, violet eyes opened. They were wide, curious, and filled with an intelligence that startled him. "I dreamed of Earth," she whispered. "I saw oceans, forests, creatures I cannot describe. Did you see such things?" Ethan smiled. Humans spent much of their lives dreaming of other worlds, yet rarely did they travel to them. "I have," he said. "I've seen oceans stretch for miles, forests so dense that sunlight barely touches the ground. But your world," he gestured outside, "this is beyond anything I imagined." Lyra studied him closely. "You're kind, you risk your life without fear, even when others hesitate. Why?" Ethan thought for a moment. On Earth, humans often acted on instinct, compassion, or necessity. "Because sometimes it is the right thing to do," he said finally. "Even if it's dangerous, even if no one asks you. Sometimes helping someone saves more than one life. It changes everything." Lyra's lips curved slightly, a gesture almost like a smile. "I think your people are brave, perhaps more than we give credit for." Before he could respond, the door shimmered and the Queen entered. Her presence filled the room immediately, commanding attention without a word. Ethan instinctively straightened. The Queen's eyes, sharp and calculating, were fixed on him. "You have done well," she said. "Not many humans would act as you have. You have not only saved Lyra's life, but also demonstrated qualities that are rare even among my own people." Ethan bowed slightly. "I only did what was necessary, Your Majesty." The Queen's gaze did not waver. "That may be, but actions reveal character more than words ever could." "I will be watching you closely, Ethan. Actions have consequences here." Ethan nodded, aware that the Queen's observation was not idle. Every word, every movement in the palace was recorded in subtle ways he could not see. Humans were seen as fragile by many Zithurians, and he had to prove them wrong, every day with every action. Over the next few days, Ethan's role expanded beyond tending to Lyra's wounds. He found himself walking the palace corridors, observing, learning, and sometimes intervening. He treated attendants with minor injuries, advised on quarantine measures during minor outbreaks, and demonstrated his knowledge of human medicine in ways that fascinated the alien staff. Lyra began to join him during these sessions. She asked questions constantly, curious about everything from human biology to culture. Ethan told her about Earth, its cities, its forests, its storms, and she listened, fascinated by the differences between their worlds. She shared stories of Zithurian history, battles, and traditions. Slowly, a bond formed, built on curiosity, respect, and shared experiences. But the palace was not without tension. Advisors whispered among themselves, skeptical of a human's presence. Some openly questioned the Queen's decision to allow him access to her daughter. Ethan could feel their eyes on him, scrutinizing his every gesture. The Queen, however, remained calm. She allowed the skepticism to exist, observing how Ethan handled it. One afternoon, a minor crisis erupted. A containment unit in the palace laboratories malfunctioned, releasing a cloud of bioluminescent spores. The palace guards were hesitant, unsure how to contain the spread without harming personnel. Ethan stepped forward, analyzing the situation with a mixture of instinct and knowledge. He instructed attendants and guards to seal doors and create a makeshift ventilation system. Then, using his human techniques of rapid containment and sterilization, he neutralized the immediate threat. The Zithurians were amazed. Not only had he solved the problem, but he had done so calmly, without panic, and with minimal resources. The Queen observed silently, her expression thoughtful. She had seen countless specialists on Zithra, trained in the highest technology and equipped with the most advanced tools. Yet this human, armed only with his knowledge and courage, had acted decisively where others hesitated. Later, Lyra approached him. "You never hesitate even when it is dangerous. How do you do it?" Ethan smiled faintly. "Fear is natural, but it cannot control you. You act because if you do not, things could get worse. Sometimes courage is simply choosing to move forward when everything tells you to stop." Lyra considered his words, her violet eyes reflecting admiration. "Perhaps that is why the Queen watches you so closely. Not because she doubts you, but because she sees potential, something that cannot be measured by our usual ways." Ethan nodded, though he felt the weight of her words. Being watched by the Queen was not a simple matter. It meant scrutiny, expectation, and responsibility. He was not here merely to heal. He was here to prove that humanity, often underestimated, had value far beyond what others assumed. Days passed, and the bond between Ethan and Lyra grew stronger. He taught her small human practices, basic first aid, the importance of rest and nutrition, and even the quiet discipline of observation and patience. She, in turn, shared her own lessons in diplomacy, alien culture, and the subtleties of Zithurian etiquette. Through these exchanges, Ethan learned not only about her world, but also about the way humans could adapt and thrive in unfamiliar environments. But not all challenges were medical or intellectual. A political faction within the palace saw Ethan's growing influence as a threat. They plotted subtle sabotage, creating minor crises that would force him into difficult decisions. Ethan faced moral dilemmas, such as choosing between strict protocol and immediate action to save lives. Each time, he relied on his judgment, compassion, and quick thinking. His decisions consistently prioritized life and fairness, further earning Lyra's trust and, indirectly, the Queen's admiration. One evening, a messenger arrived with alarming news. A group of insurgents had infiltrated the lower sectors of the city, targeting the palace and its inhabitants. The Queen convened her council, debating strategy. Ethan, uninvited but present by circumstance, suggested a tactical plan using both human ingenuity and Zithurian technology. His approach relied on unpredictability, something alien soldiers were not accustomed to, and emphasized minimizing casualties. The Queen watched silently as he explained his strategy, noting the calm confidence in his voice. He was not arrogant, only precise and willing to act where others hesitated. After a tense moment, she nodded subtly. The council reluctantly accepted his plan. When the insurgents attacked, Ethan coordinated with Lyra and the palace guards. Using both human tactics and alien technology, they neutralized the threat swiftly and efficiently. Not a single palace inhabitant was harmed, and the insurgents were captured. The Queen's eyes lingered on Ethan throughout the ordeal, recognition clear in her expression. Afterward, in the quiet of the observation chamber, Lyra turned to Ethan. "You are extraordinary. Your mind, your courage, even your patience. I did not think a human could be like this." Ethan shook his head. "I'm just doing what anyone should do, protecting life, helping those in need. It's what humans are capable of. Sometimes that is enough to surprise others." Lyra smiled faintly. "It is more than enough. You have changed the way I see my world, and perhaps even my people." That night, the Queen summoned Ethan. Her chamber glowed softly with alien lights that reflected on the polished floors. She studied him with her usual intensity. "You have proven yourself in ways that few beings ever have," she said. "Not only have you saved my daughter, but you have also demonstrated wisdom, courage, and judgment beyond your species' reputation." Ethan bowed, unsure what further praise could mean. The Queen continued. "I must consider what comes next. Humans are rare here. They are often underestimated. But you are different. I will be observing you closely. Lyra has grown fond of your presence, and that must be acknowledged." Ethan realized then that his journey had entered a new stage. No longer was he simply a healer. He had become a participant in the politics, culture, and destiny of Zithra. Every decision, every action, now carried far greater weight. As he left the Queen's chamber, Ethan reflected on the events of the past days. Humans were not the most technologically advanced, nor the strongest physically. But in moments of crisis, their ingenuity, compassion, and determination allowed them to thrive where others faltered. Here, on this alien world, those qualities were being tested and recognized. And somewhere in the palace, the Queen observed, contemplating what she had witnessed. A human had entered her daughter's life and the palace's domain, demonstrating courage, skill, and character in ways she had never expected. She did not yet reveal her full intentions, but one thought lingered in her mind. This human might not only be a healer, he could become something far more significant. The palace was quiet in the early hours, though Ethan could sense the tension lingering in the air. Word had spread of the previous day's events, the insurgent attack, the flawless coordination, and the human who had directed it. Whispers followed him in the corridors, some admiring, some skeptical, but none could ignore what had been done. Lyra approached him as he reviewed her medical progress. Her violet eyes held both curiosity and something else, an emotion he could not yet name. "Ethan," she said softly, "you have done so much. My people, they are beginning to see humans differently because of you." Ethan gave a modest shrug. "I only acted as I would have to if it were my own people. Life matters no matter where it comes from." She smiled faintly, a gesture filled with warmth. "And yet it feels like more than that. Your presence, it changes things, you give hope." Before he could respond, the doors to the observation chamber opened and the Queen entered. Her presence filled the room immediately, commanding attention. She moved with grace and authority, every motion deliberate. Ethan felt the weight of her gaze, aware that her judgment would soon reach its final stage. "You have demonstrated courage, skill, and integrity," she began, her voice steady and commanding. "Not only have you saved my daughter, but you have also proven that humans, long considered fragile and unremarkable, are capable of extraordinary things." Ethan bowed, though unease tugged at him. "Your Majesty, I did what anyone should do. It was." The Queen raised a hand, stopping him. "You underestimate the significance of your actions. You have not only healed but also inspired. You have shown qualities that are rare even among my own people: judgment, compassion, courage, and patience. All these have been tested under the most dangerous circumstances." She paused, letting her words sink in. Ethan felt the intensity of her gaze, a weight heavier than any weapon he had faced. Then she said something that made the air in the room shift. "Ethan, you will marry my daughter, Lyra." The word struck him like a blow. He froze, blinking rapidly. I don't understand, Your Majesty," he managed to say. The Queen's expression remained calm, but her eyes held an unspoken certainty. "It is not simply a reward for your deeds. It is a recognition of your qualities. It is a statement to my people that humans, once underestimated, can be trusted and honored. Your bond with Lyra is evident. Your courage and intellect have proven invaluable. You will marry to unite our worlds, to create a bond that cannot be ignored." Ethan's mind raced. He had never sought royalty, nor marriage, nor political significance. He had come to Zithra as a healer, a human far from home, relying on his skill and intuition to survive and help others. Yet here, in the quiet light of the observation chamber, he realized that his actions had consequences far beyond anything he had imagined. Lyra stepped forward, her expression calm yet intense. "Ethan," she said softly, "the Queen speaks truth. I have seen your courage, your judgment, and your heart. You have saved me more than once. You have taught me about humanity, and I trust you." Ethan looked at her, searching her eyes for anything he might have missed: trust, respect, something deeper than admiration. His chest tightened, the enormity of the moment settling over him. "Lyra, I never sought this," he said honestly. "I only wanted to help, to save you, to do what is right." She reached out, placing her hand gently on his. "And that is exactly why this is right. The queen sees it, I see it. Perhaps this union, it is fate, in a way. The queen observed their exchange silently. Then she spoke again, her tone final, leaving no room for argument. This is not a decision for negotiation. It is a recognition of the value humans bring, the courage they can embody, and the bond that has been forged between my daughter and you. You will marry. Your presence here is no longer temporary. You are now part of our world. Ethan exhaled slowly, the weight of her words settling in. It was overwhelming, yet he felt a sense of clarity. Humans had always been underestimated, fragile in strength, simple in design, reliant on luck or chance. Yet here, his humanity, his ingenuity, and his compassion had changed the perception of an entire civilization. Over the following days, preparations for the union began. Ethan was introduced to Zithurian customs, rituals, and expectations. Every ceremony, every tradition was foreign, yet he approached them with the same careful thought he had applied to healing wounds and resolving crises. Lyra stayed close, guiding him through unfamiliar protocols, teaching him the subtleties of etiquette, and sharing moments of laughter that made the palace feel less alien. The queen continued to observe, her approval quiet but unmistakable. Advisors who had once questioned Ethan's presence now offered cautious respect. Guards and attendants treated him with deference, though some still whispered about the audacity of a human earning such honor. Ethan realized that his role had expanded far beyond medicine. He was now a symbol, a living proof that humans could rise to challenges, adapt to foreign worlds, and earn trust through skill, courage, and integrity. He felt the weight of responsibility, knowing that his actions now carried consequences for both humanity and Zithra. During private moments, Lyra and Ethan shared conversations about the future. They spoke of Earth, of Zithra, and of the possibilities that lay ahead. Ethan admitted that he had never imagined being part of an alien royal family. Lyra confessed that she had never imagined trusting a human so fully. Together, they discussed the potential to bring their worlds closer, to foster understanding, and to show that cooperation could achieve what alone might be impossible. One evening, as the twin suns set and painted the palace in hues of gold and purple, Ethan stood on a balcony overlooking the city. Lyra joined him, her hand resting lightly on his arm. "Do you ever regret coming here?" she asked quietly. Ethan shook his head. "No. Every moment has been challenging, yes, but also incredible. I have learned more about courage, trust, and life than I ever thought possible. And I have seen the best of your people, the part that can be inspired, protected, and respected." Lyra looked at him, a faint smile on her lips. "Then we will face the future together, not as human and alien, not as outsider and royal, but as partners, equals." Ethan felt a surge of determination. Humans were not the strongest species, nor the most technologically advanced, but they were adaptable, resourceful, and compassionate. He had proven it in the face of danger, and now he would continue to demonstrate it as a partner to Lyra and as a bridge between their worlds. The wedding ceremony, when it came, was a spectacle of elegance and tradition. Aliens from every corner of Zithra attended, observing with awe the union between human and princess. Ethan followed the rituals carefully, guided by Lyra, while the queen watched with satisfaction. She had made a bold decision, but one that honored courage, skill, and heart, qualities that transcended species. When the final vows were exchanged, Ethan and Lyra stood side by side, looking out at the assembled crowd. They felt the weight of expectation, but also the exhilaration of possibility. Humans had long been underestimated in the galaxy, but here, on Zithra, they were recognized as capable, honorable, and essential. The queen approached them afterward. "You have done more than heal and protect," she said softly. "You have shown that humanity can rise to the highest challenges. This union, it is a testament to what can be achieved when courage meets wisdom." Ethan nodded, understanding the significance. He had not sought recognition, but he had earned it, not through ambition, but through action, empathy, and the simple determination to do what was right. As night fell and the palace lights reflected on the floating gardens below, Ethan and Lyra walked together. They spoke of plans to foster peace, to exchange knowledge, and to create bonds between their worlds. They knew challenges would come, but together they would face them. Ethan reflected on the journey that had brought him here, from a human healer in an alien land to a figure of trust, respect, and hope. Humans were capable of extraordinary things when courage, intelligence, and compassion guided their actions. He had proven it, not through words but through deeds, and now he would continue to do so as a partner, a protector, and a symbol. The queen watched from her chambers, satisfied. A human had entered her world, healed her daughter, and risen to meet every challenge. She knew the story of Ethan and Lyra would inspire generations of Zithurians and humans alike. It was a reminder that courage, wisdom, and heart were universal, transcending species and borders. And as the first stars of Zithra twinkled in the night sky, Ethan realized something profound. Humans had found their place among the stars, not because they were the strongest, fastest, or most advanced, but because they dared to act, to care, and to rise above fear. In this moment, humanity's potential was undeniable, and their journey was only beginning.